Hey everyone. So, obviously, with free agency opening today, there has been a ton of signings so far, just in the few hours that free agency has been open. So, unless I wanted this video to be an hour long, which I don't, I obviously can't go through every single signing that happened today in this video. I'm going to break it up. I'm going to do this video on some of the bigger names and guys that were getting talked about and where they ended up, and then I'll do another video on more of the depth moves and lower level players that have signed. But before we get to that, I just want to say, please, if you're not yet a subscriber of this channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you're a fan of the NHL at all, this channel has something for you. Whether you follow the league as a whole or you only watch one team or whatever, there are videos here for you. So please follow, hit that subscribe button, and check out whatever you want in the video section. There's a lot, and there's a lot more to come. So thank you for that, and now we get on to it. I got a whole list here of all the signings that I know of so far today. I've gotten from Facebook, Twitter, and TSN.com. Obviously, the big one, John Tavares. I just did a video on that, talked about him in depth. 7 years, $11 million per year in Toronto. So JT made his decision and goes to Toronto. Michael Grabner. Grabner is a much sought after forward. He signed in Arizona on a 3-year deal for $3.35 million per year. So that's a solid deal for Arizona. He's a really good penalty killer, can play second or third line, still a guy who can score 25 to 30 goals in a year. That is a solid pickup for Arizona. Arizona might be decent next year. All right, I shouldn't say decent. They're not going to be good. They're not going to be a playoff team, but Arizona is not going to be as bad next year as they were this past year, and I really expect them to be an improved team this year. What else do we have here? Tyler Bozak. Tyler Bozak signed with the St. Louis Blues. He is going there on a 3-year deal, $5 million per year. Mike Green. Mike Green, defenseman, is staying in Detroit on a 2-year deal worth over $5 million per year, 5.375 AAV to be exact. Green, I mean, obviously he likes it in Detroit. Detroit is not a team that is going to be really good anytime soon. They're certainly not going to, probably not even be a playoff team in the next couple of years, but maybe, potentially, they could sneak into a wild card spot at some point, but I really don't see that happening next year or probably the year after either. But Green obviously likes it there, and he's a solid veteran defenseman. Going back to Bozak, that's a decent move for St. Louis, but I feel like in St. Louis, Bozak's going to have to play a role more than what he is fit for or what he should be playing. Tyler Bozak is a third-line center. He's a very good third-line center, but he's a third-line center. I feel like he's going to have to be more than that in St. Louis, and we'll just see if he can become something more than what he has been his whole career as a 32-year-old. Jack Johnson, like I talked about in a video days ago, this was expected. Jack Johnson signed a 5-year deal worth $3.25 million per year in Pittsburgh. So he is coming off a very bad year in Columbus, but he will bolster Pittsburgh's defense, which was a major weakness last season. Really showed throughout the year, especially in the playoffs, that defense was an issue for the Penguins. Johnson helps them, and this will be the best team that Jack Johnson has ever played for. So maybe playing with good guys around him will help bolster his play as well, and he can bounce back from a very bad season last year. Paul Stastny. Paul Stastny, a lot of people thought he was going back to Winnipeg when Winnipeg made the Joel Armia trade the other day and really cleared cap space for what seemed like a big push to keep Stastny. Well, if that was the case, Winnipeg got screwed because Paul Stastny is now a Vegas Golden Knight, signed there for 3 years at $6.5 million per year. huge boost for the Golden Knights, although they are losing a decent number of players as well. But bringing in Stastny absolutely helps them. He's their number 2 center, behind William Karlsson on the first line, and he's a very solid number 2 center, and he should have a good year and bring a lot to Vegas. Carter Hutton, the biggest goaltender on the market, he's signed in Buffalo, which was expected. 3 years, $2.75 million per year, so pretty low cap hit for Hutton there. Certainly not a starting goaltender salary, but he's certainly going to have the chance to earn a starting job in Buffalo. They let Robin Lehner go, so they really don't have much else there. As far as goaltenders concerned, unless they have a trade in the works or some sort of bigger move. But Hutton was the best goaltender on the market, and he signed it with Buffalo. And I assume he's probably going to get a chance to be the starting goaltender there. David Perron. Perron leaving Vegas is going back to St. Louis. This will be his 3rd stint as a St. Louis Blue. He signed a 4-year deal at $4 million per year. This move I really don't like for the Blues. Perron has been a career-long underperformer. He had a very good year last year in Vegas. I will give him that. He played really well for Vegas last year. But for most of his career, he's been an underperformer. And signing a guy like that to a 4-year deal, he's already, 30 years old now? Signing a guy like that to a 4-year deal at a $4 million cap hit is a little risky for my liking. Perron to me is a 3rd-line winger. He is a 3rd-line offensive winger who can give you secondary scoring. That's what he's been for most of his career, with the exception of last year in Vegas, where he had a really good year and put up a lot of points as mostly a 2nd-line player. But I wouldn't expect him to do that again with St. Louis, or at least not do that for another 4 years. So that's I think not the best deal. But St. Louis obviously wanted him back. They have a lot of familiarity with each other, and St. Louis is a team that is trying to fill in pieces around Braden Shen and Vlad Tarasenko and Jaden Schwartz and Alex Pietrangelo, the players that they already have. They're trying to fill in around them with a good enough supporting cast to make a run. They didn't even make the playoffs last year, so they're obviously going out there. They brought in Bozak and Perron. They're trying to make some moves here to make themselves a playoff team and make them a Stanley Cup threat team. And the last real big name so far that I know of is James Van Riemsdyk. That was early morning news. This was reported like 7 a.m. this morning. Going back to Philadelphia, where he started his career, Van Riemsdyk on a 5-year deal worth $7 million per year. He had, 36 goals last year. He's a perennial 30-goal scorer. So this is really big for Philly, actually. Philadelphia made the playoffs last year after not making them the year before. Got lost in the first round to Pittsburgh, which was pretty much expected. But they're a team that's kind of on the rise, I think. They've got some really good young players there. They have a very young but talented defense. In adding someone like Van Riemsdyk is a huge boost for them. He is a perennial 30-goal scorer, and it really adds a lot to that team. Now, with Van Riemsdyk in there, does that make Wayne Simmons expendable? Simmons hasn't been as good the last couple of years as he was the 3 or 4 years before that. So Simmons could be on his way out of Philly at this point, and Van Riemsdyk allows them to do that. So those were your big moves, your big name players who have signed to this point. There's been a lot of depth moves that I'll talk about in another video. But those are your big moves. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. Check out offthewallhockey.com. All those links in the description below. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And stay tuned for everything else that's still to come. Talk to you guys soon.